Please lie on your back. Bend your knees. Stand your feet. And begin to do the movement with both legs at the same time. So opening both of your knees sideways. Do you let them fall? Do you direct your legs? Do you control the lowering? Just notice how you do that part. And then lengthen your legs and pull them both back together. And at the moment where you feel you begins to get uncomfortable, can you listen to that and find just before that moment that you bring your legs up so that your feet are standing and your knees are to the ceiling. Do your legs follow the same pathway? They moving at the same speed? Yeah, you can notice that your attention gets pulled to the sounds. And then how is it possible to let them move into the background so that the sounds of your movement, the quality of your listening to yourself is foreground? So listen to the way you open your knees, whether the movement is equal on both sides, whether the speed is the same and constant with each leg. And is it possible to let your knees open and your legs lengthen without increasing the arch, without lifting the vertebra of your lower back more from the floor? And Moshe says to do that, to make the movement of your legs equal and to minimize or inhibit the arching of the lower back as your legs are coming up or first going down, that you need to time the movement with your breathing. And that it's only possible if you listen and time the movement with your exhalation, so that each of your legs and both legs together organize at the same time as your exhalation. And of course, there are many other factors that are unique to each one of us that can influence this ability to move our legs simultaneously and at the same speed. The musculature along the length of our back and in our chest needs to be free. We need to lessen any unnecessary work in the muscles around our hips, pelvic floor, abdomen, and our lower back. But at the same time, our chest, our ribs can be soft and our breathing continue. Next time your feet are standing, leave them there. And notice how your pelvis lies. Do you remember the area of contact or the degree of pressure or the location of that pressure at the beginning of this lesson? Interlace your hands with your knees bent, your feet standing. Interlace your hands behind your head. And lift your head with the help of your hands and notice how this influences your lower back and the length of your spine now. So you lift your head and then you lower it again. You pause, letting the weight of your head rest in your hands, and then lift again. And notice, can you feel yourself mobilizing in your abdominal muscles? What parts of your chest change the contact with the floor? The next time you lift your head, keep it lifted, listening to the relationship of your lumbar vertebra and the floor, and then slowly let your left knee open sideways and extend it. And see if you can do, if it's possible to do that with your head lifted without any change in the contact of your pelvis or spine with the floor. Keep your left leg long and then slowly allow your right knee to fall sideways and lengthen, sensing what's happening in the relationship of your back to the floor. And then bring your right leg back, noticing if you can keep your lower back quiet. So you may feel your pelvis roll a little bit, shift its weight, change its contact to the left or the right, but that your lower back, the shape of its arch doesn't change, and if anything, it gets a little flatter, a little longer. And then bring your other leg up. So do it once with one leg, then once with your other leg. How are you breathing? How can you find a way of breathing that allows you to do this? Next time both legs are standing, try it. Rest your head a minute, actually. Rest your head a minute, but keep your feet standing. Now lift your head again and keep your head lifted. Follow the movement of your breathing, where you're breathing, and slowly find out what it's like to open both knees together and extend both legs. And even if you only do part of the movement, or you stop the moment you feel your lower back arching and go back and move a little backward and a little forward of that place. Lengthen your legs, rest your head down, and take a pause. Listening to the contact of your back with the floor, yet the length of your spine. Sense of length, volume, contact of your right leg and your left leg. Slowly open your knees and bring your legs to stand. You can do one leg, then the other leg, or you could do both together. With your legs standing, can you put your left hand behind your head and bring your right knee over your abdomen and hold below your knee with your right hand? So below your kneecap. So it's not behind your thigh, it's below your kneecap. On your lower leg, below your kneecap. On the front of your shin, below your kneecap. Not the back of your calf, the front. Can you? Yeah, that's it. And let your lower leg hang without any intention to touch. Remember, no, that disease of achievement that you're, all finding different ways to leave, get healthier from. Could you lift your head with the help of your hand and draw your right knee and your right elbow towards one another, just in the direction of, and then away from one another. So your head comes down to the floor, left elbow. Did I say right? Sorry. So the intention is not to bring them as close together as you can. The intention is to feel, listen to what's happening through yourself, how the length of your spine changes its contact with the floor, its relationship with the floor. What happens in your chest, your breathing. Do you shift your weight a little more onto one side of your spine or the other side of your spine? Can you sense the movement in your hip joint? Does the movement of your leg coming in the direction of your elbow and your elbow coming towards your knee, does it influence the tilt or the contact of your pelvis on the floor? Now change hands and continue. So put your left hand below your right knee and your right hand, same leg, right hand behind your head. And listen to what presses into the floor as you direct your right elbow and right knee towards one another without any intention of touching. What's happening in your hip joints, your pelvis, your lower back, your chest, your shoulder blade, your ribs, your breathing. Now interlace, next time you put your head down, leave it down and interlace your fingers below your right knee. Could you lift your head? Aim your nose or your forehead in the direction of your knee as your knee moves closer to your head. What do you sense now through your back? How do you go about softening your chest? It's not such an easy thing to do. Think of the ribs at the front of you, the ribs at the back of you. And how are you breathing as you do this? Okay, leave that. Stand your foot. Bring your arms by your sides. Have both legs standing. And just notice how you sense your right hip joint, your left hip joint. Slowly open your knees. Let them fall gently, softly to the sides, and extend your legs, listening to whether you feel a difference at all between your right leg and your left leg. Lengthen your legs. Allow them to lengthen completely and rest a moment. How do you sense your right leg lying, your right side? compared to your left side, your left leg. Could you slowly open your legs to the sides, your feet, let your knees bend, draw your legs headward. Notice the influence on the contact of your pelvis, the arch of your lower back, and the length of your spine. Keep your feet standing and bring your left knee over your abdomen now. Bring your left hand behind your head. Hold below your left knee with your right hand. And without any intention, giving up the goal of getting your knee and elbow closer to one another, begin to explore, moving them towards one another in order to feel, sense, listen to what's happening through yourself. How your back flattens on the floor. What places through your thorax, your ribs, do you feel any sensations of movement? The lower ribs at the front of you, ribs at the back of you. Which ones lean a little bit more and which ones lift? And how can you use your breathing, exhaling, letting air out in order to let your chest soften a little bit more, fold a little bit more? Change your hands and continue. Does your elbow and your knee pass through the same distance in space? Or does your knee move further through space in the direction of your elbow, or your elbow move further in space in the direction of your knee? Can you make the distance they move equal, the same speed, lighter, simpler? Your right leg is standing. Next time your head lowers to the floor, bring your right hand out and interlace it with your left hand below your left knee, and several times lift your head, direct your head towards your knee and your knee towards your head. So both hands are below your knee, not your head. And what part of your head are you thinking of moving towards your knee? Does it make a difference whether you move your nose or your forehead or your chin? Maybe you can sense that if you direct different parts of your head or points on your head towards your knee, it's a different mobilization of your abdominal muscles, of yourself, that can make a difference in how you soften your chest, how you organize your chest to fold at the front, lengthen at the back, and which ribs lean a little more or less on the floor. Okay, stand your feet. Let your arms come to the ground and listen for a moment to the contact of your pelvis and your lower back with the floor, to your breathing. And now slowly let your left knee open sideways and see if you can lengthen your leg, extend your leg with just minimizing what's happening in your lower back. Your right leg stays standing, your knee to the ceiling. And then come back again and try your right leg. And just begin with just a quarter of the movement and maybe come back. And the next time you move, do a little bit more. And if you were to restrict yourself to only moving your leg as far as you can without any change in the arching of your back, could you do that? Next time your legs are standing, leave them standing and slide whichever leg is easier for you to lengthen. Could you slide the opposite hand underneath your lower back so that your palm is down on the floor and the back of your hand is in contact with the vertebra, the little spinous processes at the back? And then open your knee sideways and lengthen your leg and find out if it's possible with the extra help of your hand giving you feedback. Can you lengthen your leg and then draw it back up, keeping your lower back quiet? And for some, you may feel the need to actively mobilize your abdominal muscles to inhibit the arching of your lower back. Next time that leg is standing, change your hands and try it with your other leg. Several times. So the question is, yes, is it possible to mobilize? Maybe not yet, but it is possible. Is it possible to mobilize the abdominal muscles to minimize the arching without engaging the upper neck, torso, shoulders? Yes, but it depends on your habits, and it's about disentangling things that have gone together, work together, and now you're learning to differentiate them in many different ways. Sometimes in an ATM lesson, we get a part of it, and then it's another lesson or other themes of lessons that when we've explored and we come back to this, we discover that, oh, that's different. The next time both legs are standing, take your hand out. Well, you can leave your hand there if it's easier, but probably take it out and try both legs together. Just open them a tiny bit and return. And then add a little more and return. until eventually you'll be lying with your legs extended. But do it in, actually some legs just look like they gave their weight to gravity and lengthened. So next time, so can you lengthen your legs now? Leave your legs long. Notice your relationship with the floor. Contact of your pelvis, the sense you have of your hip joints, the connection of your legs, your breathing. Go back to bringing your legs to stand. Do you remember the way you did it at the beginning of the lesson? Any easier now? Did you choose the same way or a different way? So lengthen your legs again and think that you're going to bring your legs, your knees, bend your legs so the knees move directly towards the ceiling. They don't go sideways. And notice what happens in your lower back and with your breathing and the feeling of weight of your legs, perhaps. And then slide them long again. And then let your legs turn outwards, allowing your knees to bend, sliding them up on the outside edges and finding that place to stand. Find out what that's like now without thinking so much about your lower back. Do your legs feel lighter, heavier this way? And what's different to when you began? And leave that. Slowly roll yourself to one side. Bring yourself up to standing. And see how standing is now. Then begin to walk around a little. And notice if you notice any sensations of movement in your walking that are a little different to usual. Moshe says in this lesson, who carries you now? And let's take a 20